Hello, everybody. Travis Pfeiffer here with my good buddy Brandon. Brandon, thanks for joining me again today.
No problem. Thank you for having me again.
Always a pleasure. So, today we're going to be talking about the brand new feature that's coming out in Opus 12 for the Final Fantasy trading card game, and that are these brand new spiffy dual element cards. For anyone who doesn't know, Final Fantasy as a game and lore has always been about like elements of the world, and the trading card game specifically uses these elements to kind of define their archetypes or their ideas or gameplay styles. So we've got fire, lightning, water, earth, wind, ice. There's light and dark. So these brand new cards coming out in Opus 12 are going to share two elements. So we kind of wanted to go over some of the rules of those, perhaps for those of you new to the game and just for anyone to have in kind of a handy video. So rule number one with these dual element cards is that in order to play them onto the field, you must pay with CP, at least one CP of each element. So in the past, if you had a 3 CP fire forward, 1 CP had to be fire. It doesn't matter what the others are, but at least one had to be fire. But now if you have a new fire ice forward, such as Celtius that was revealed, then you have to pay at least 1 fire and 1 ice in order to get Celtius onto the field. So regardless of what it is, you'll have to pay at least 1 CP of both elements that are on the card. Brandon, what's our next rule?
Yes, and that is cost reduction, such as because you have to pay at least one of each element, if you somehow reduce a card's cost below 2, so where it's just 1, you'll still need to pay 1 of each element, meaning you'll have to overpay by 1, making it effectively a 2 cost anyway. So the new Shantoto is a 2 CP, 1 Earth, 1 Lightning. If you make her 1 with Glauca or Tilica or something, you still have to pay 1 Earth and 1 Lightning no matter what. And you can still overpay by 1. So if you have 1 Earth backup, you can tap for CP and you can discard a Lightning card still to overpay. It just doesn't feel as good. But cost reduction.
Absolutely. And I don't think there's anything that exists currently with these dual elements that can get these cards to 0, but on the offhand chance you can get them to 0, Brandon, do you still have to pay with different elements or can they just come down for free?
No, if you have a card, if you do reduce their cost to 0, they are just free. The only way I could think of that right now is with the new Lonnie coming out to remove the top card of their deck and reduce its cost by 2. If you hit one of these dual color 2 CP elements forwards, they're just free at that point. But that's the only thing I could think of.
Excellent. And so so you can also cheat them in like with things like Phoenix or Lena could bring back a 2 CP as well, as long as it's got water in it, something like that, right?
Correct.
Awesome.
It
Good
is
to know.
yes.
All right, for our next rule, their elements are applicable in all areas. So what that means is if you have a card like the new Regis, he is both Earth and Lightning. He is at all times both Earth and Lightning. So what that means is if you put down the Earth Searcher Kolka, which is a backup, it lets you search out any Earth forward, you can grab Regis with that. And at the same time, if you put out the Lightning Searcher Aldo, you can also grab Regis with that. And if Regis were to be on the field, and let's say you have the Anthems out, so you have Lulu, the backup that grants 1,000 power to all Lightning forwards, and Enna Crow, the backup that grants 1,000 to all Earth forwards, he'll actually get the effect of both backups, so he'd gain 2,000 power total. So yeah, at any time, like let's say someone had a card that said, dull all Earth forwards characters have, he would still count for that, even though part of him is Lightning. So, or for example, if someone had an immunity to him, like Camelot said, hey, I can't be targeted by Earth, then he could not be targeted by, anything Regis would do, because even though he is half Lightning, he still is at all times Earth.
Yes. And being both elements at all times, you can still discard them for 2 CP of either element, which will come in handy a lot. Unfortunately, you don't get 1 of each or 2 of each, but you get 2, and you just have to pick which element you want it to be. Otherwise, I feel like it would be way too strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of the dual elements too, another thing is about party attacks. So, excuse me there. when they form a party, you just have to form a party with someone sharing a single element. So, for example, there is a new lock coming out that is an ice wind multi-element forward. That lock can form a party with another ice forward or another wind forward. As long as it matches a single element, it can form that party. Now, that's for parties of 2. On the offhand chance you ever form a party of 3 or more, it will still have to match that element. So let's say you have 2 wind forwards partying up. Lock can form a party with them because they're still both wind, but like you couldn't also throw in, I don't know, a water forward. There still has to be a matching of elements among that.
Yes, and they can party with other dual elements as well. So your ice wind forwards can party with a wind earth forward because they both share the wind element.
Yes.
Which is nice.
So like the new Legend Y'shtola, which is a wind earth forward, can party with the lock because they do share the element of wind.
Yes. That's it for the general rules of how dual elements work. More specifics, they being treated as all elements in all situations for cards such as the Opus IX Luso that counts the different elements amongst forwards you control. If you have a dual element forward in play, it will count both elements of that forward. So Luso would be gaining First Strike and Brave because counting Luso plus your other 2 elements on the same forward, it'll still get First Strike and Brave.
Absolutely. And likewise with that Luso too, if you had the new Shantoto, so you've got Lightning, Earth, and her, and then you have another Lightning forward, it's only going to count the Lightning once. You don't get like, oh, the multi-element version of Lightning and then the mono version of Lightning. No, you get one Lightning out of that.
Yes.
Go ahead, Brandon.
I was going to say the only way that would truly make a difference is if it had to count amongst different forwards you would control. I feel like in that situation, it would only count one element from each forward then, but it would have to be worded a different way.
Yeah, that's fair. So another specific example, there are certain forwards in the game that have other than. So, for example, the Opus IX Nero card, he has an effect that triggers if he has an element on the field other than his own element, which is lightning. So, if you had something like, again, we'll use that new Shantoto, which is Earth Lightning, she actually would not count for that. Even though she is Earth, she is still lightning herself, so she doesn't trigger for his effect. So there aren't many of these effects in the game right now, from what I know, but in the future, if they ever add more things that say, other than this element, and you have a multi-element that shares that will not count. You will need something that doesn't share that element at all.
I know there was a good amount of Opus 1 and 2 cards that did that, such as, I believe, Geese from Opus 2 could play a forward from hand other than water, so it wouldn't count one of your dual elements. I might have that backwards. It might only play water. Also counting specifics would be the Opus 1 Golbez. His effect allows you to put, when he's put Field of Break Zone, up to 4 forwards in play from your deck of cost 2 CP that don't share elements with each other. That would include the dual elements. They are treated, if you would not be able to play the new Shantoto being Earth Lightning along with another 2-drop forward that would be either Earth or Lightning. It would count both elements. So you would have to play other forwards that do not share an element with that Shantoto still.
Nice. Very interesting. No, that's great to know. I guess a final little specific rule we'll mention too. If you have a card that specifies an element, for example, Opus 5 Camlanot, he has an ability at the start of his main phase. He can say, choose one element. Cam, cannot be chosen by summons or abilities of that element. You cannot say multi-element as a, you have to still pick, okay, I'll pick wind or earth. And again, okay, so then he can't be chosen by like that Y'shtola's ability because she does share one of those elements, but you can't just blanket declare multi-element. That's what I choose. So that's not something you can do either. So those are basically, that would be pretty ridiculous. So those are the rules we have right now for these multi-element cards. Brandon and I are going to spend a little time here talking about just kind of what we think about them in general. And this is, of course, pre-Opus Thoughts. Like many things, it could change. I've had many things that I've predicted that ended up being wrong, but there's also stuff I was like, I think this is how it's going to work, and I ended up being right about it. So most of these cards we've seen so far are above curve. They usually have a power level that's stronger than what the curve is considered, and then they seem to have some solid effects too. So it seems to me that the designers feel the cost restriction of these cards, the fact that you're going to have to play them with one element of each CP, is a pretty big negative for these cards. So it seems like they're trying to counter that by making them very strong. I got to be honest, Brandon. I don't know. I kind of think it's going to be the other way. I'm going to give a shout out to Hunter Nance here. He said this in the NA group, was that I don't think that's going to be the detriment they think it is. Like, I think you kind of mentioned something like how easy it was to pay multi-elements already, and you're just going to have these above curve cards. Like, to me, it seems really strong. Am I missing something here? What do you think about that?
No, I definitely think they're very good cards. Yeah, they have made it a lot easier over the past few opuses to play multi-element decks, whether it be 2, 3, 4. I've seen up to 5 the little rainbow decks, and it's only going to get easier from there with the introduction of these. But they did it in a way where they followed their own color cycle: fire, ice, wind, earth, lightning, water, and the multi-element Moogle backups that'll tap for one or a different color follow the same pattern as these forwards. So they just made it so much easier to just play whatever dual element you want, even though Earth has a very good way of fixing your colors. You don't even have to worry about that anymore.
That's a great... I hadn't really even thought of that, too. So all the dual element Moogles that exist right now, they already cover all these multi-elements that are coming out?
Yeah, they just follow the same cycle. The fire taps for ice, ice for wind, wind for earth, earth lightning, lightning water, water fire.
Well, there you go. Kupo, folks. Get your Kupo on, because these Moogles are set to help you out. Sorry, what were you going to have a point there? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, to make color fixing a lot easier, such as, let's take the new Shantoto, for example, because it falls in category 11. You're already most likely playing Earth, Wind, and 11, and if you just need Lightning CP, you can just splash one of those into your deck for color fixing. If you just want to splash a third element into your deck, because you say, hey, my Star Sybil enters, I'll search a Shantoto. Worst case scenario, if I don't need the Lightning, I could just use it for Earth, which my deck already is. It just gives you the option to splash additional colors into your deck.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's something that just... I don't know if we can truly appreciate it until we get it in our hands, like how strong that's going to be, that you have a card that can be pitched for one of two different elements. Like, because even in the best of my dual color decks, I've had plenty of times where I'll be element locked. I mean, hell, I had a match last night when we were playing together that was legit, oh man, I need another fire CP. Like, I needed this. So to have a card that in one instance is, ice CP or whatever, and then, oh, actually it also counts for fire, like, that just sounds so strong. Like, that alone kind of, to me, completely counters whatever negative would come from the fact that you had to, pay with one CP of each thing. That, to me, that just sounds insanely strong.
Yeah, I can honestly say I was super happy to see that Dragoon being printed in both colors, because I have a Water, Fire, Lightning category 9 deck, and I have one of each Dragoon in there, one Lightning and one Water, just for color fixing if I need to, and being able to cut one of those out of the deck, replace both of those with a single card to free up deck space and still give me my color fixing, helps immensely. Same with the Steiner that they gave us too.
Yeah, the Water, Fire.
Being in the same colors.
In the same category too, that 9 deck's going to look fun.
Oh god, it's going to be so much easier to play my backups. I won't even need to play janky Moogles that tap for multiple colors.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I kind of want to ask this question too, and maybe some of our viewers will wonder this. Do you think these cards are an auto include in those dual element decks? So, like, does that Steiner or that Freya, do their effects even matter, or are they literally like, I'm just going to put it in there just because it's a card I can pitch 2 CP for? If you're playing Fire Ice Final Fantasy VI, which is a big known staple deck, are you going to put that new Vayne in there or Celtius in there and maybe never even use it, but just for the fact that, hey, I've got a card that I can pitch for either CP? Do you think that's an auto include, or is that still maybe not going to be worth it?
Depending on the card, I would say 100% auto include. The Ice Fire ones are very strong for what they are, so I would honestly include them either way. But like I said, for the Freya Steiner, they fit 9 perfectly, but separately they're only there for the color because they follow their own themes. that I don't think they would both have a place in a deck that isn't just there for color fixing. Um, the new Ishtola is perfect because it's already in your colors. The Shantoto, like I said, just splash lightning. Certain ones don't really belong, like Urianger and Lightning Water. There's no reason to play that over the Urianger you already have.
Okay, that's fair. So you think Name Clash will definitely be like as good as that new Ishtola is, and she damn looks good. You know, are you going to cut the Opus 5 legend to put her in there? But yeah, that kind of worries me too, and I hope I'm wrong about this, because that in general I don't like these super strong cards that you can just splash into anything. Like, I like it more when it's like, no, it has a home here and it's really great in that home. But you know, that's kind of what dominated the Opus 11 meta, was because these 4 big cards, you could jam them into any deck and be successful. So that's definitely a concern of mine, is that if these cards are so good and they become so, you know, unanimously powerful due to their ability to be discarded for anything, that would be my worry, is that, oh yeah, Fire Ice, you jam in that vein, even if you're not going to use it, you know, it's just there so you can discard it. So I kind of hope that doesn't come to pass, because that worries me a bit.
Yeah, you're like you said, you can just splash the Celtius into an Earthwind 11 deck just to give you fire or ice if you want to be that guy playing BFA or Sephiroth for whatever reason. It just gives you all the colors you want, even though your Earth already color fixes. But the idea is there.
That's a great point. So one detriment, and I'll give a shout out to my buddy Max Ritter. He kind of mentioned this to us, was that specifically the 2 CP forwards. So things like the new little Shantoto, the Freya, the Steiner you mentioned. These ones are interesting because they do have a disadvantage, which is that if you draw these early, you can't just play these off of one card, because they have to be paid with CP of each element. So like, you can't turn 1, drop down this Freya without pitching 2 cards from hand. So those ones early, you will have to actually overpay for it. Now, obviously, once you get backups down, it's really easy to just tap a backup of each color to do it. But again, still, I've had plenty of dual element decks where early I see 3 of the same color backup. Okay, I put down 3 wind, you know, and I have no water or whatever it is. So do you think that's going to maybe hamper those cards a little more? Do you think that might end up being a big detriment, or will that maybe not be a big deal? What do you think?
It definitely could be. And if you're worried about trying to splash 2-3 colors on the little 2-drops, just not being able to play them, you could honestly, the way they are set up now, just go with just a straight up monocolor deck with those Moogles that tap for the next color in the cycle. And you wouldn't even have to worry about them then. Don't have to worry about, now I need 2 backups down. I need Earth and Lightning so I can play my Shantoto comfortably, but I'm only drawing Earth. You could just splash it in a mono Earth deck and have your Earth Moogle that taps for Lightning and just play it whenever you feel like it.
That's a great point. Wow. So yeah, that's a lot.
And that makes some of these cards a little bit better. It makes Thancred's second ability a lot better, being able to, whenever he swings, count your Lightning card, so you don't have to try and build a Lightning Water deck and hope for the best. You can just have all Lightning backups, and he can just kill a 6-drop forward.
Yeah, that's a great point. Wow, it's gonna be an interesting journey here in Opus 12. I'm very curious to see what happens. Brandon, did you have any other thoughts you wanted to mention on these cards?
Just that I am very excited to see what else we get. At the moment, it looks like there's 3 in each of the dual colors that we have, minus the Water Fire Legend. It looks like we're missing. I do kind of hope we get more that haven't been spoiled yet, but if it's just 3 of each element so far, I will be fine with it. Excited.
Yeah, that's fair. Folks, I want to thank you all for watching our little multi-element video here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Let us know what you think. I'll put a link in the description for the Square Enix article that kind of goes over some of these points we mentioned. But yeah, let us know what you think of these cards. Like, of course, none of us will truly know till we get our hands on them. But like, do you think they're going to be super strong? Do you think maybe, they're not actually going to be as great as everyone thinks they are? And Brandon and I will definitely come back one day too, once we've had some good time with the Opus, to kind of discuss it and say, oh yeah, we were right, they were really strong, or who knows, maybe it'll be surprising and we'll be like, it actually, for whatever reason, just wasn't as strong as I thought it would be. So leave your comments below, let us know, and Brandon and I will see you next time. Brandon, say goodbye to the nice people.
Bye everybody, thanks for watching.
Bye, take care.